Anne is going to profile a handful of people who have started with why and pursued it, and she is recognizing and celebrating those people. So here's Anne Medlock and her talk on global heroes. Anne.
I write. I think it's a gene thing, like having red hair or flat feet. And I don't feel passionate about writing because passion comes with what you write about. And for much of my work life, I wrote whatever paid the best. From a great gig like being the speechwriter to the Aga Khan, to writing ad copy, which sometimes was thoroughly disturbing. Like, I have actually written ad copy for a particular international paper company for their shipping boxes for slaughterhouses. A little disturbing, but I had the rent to pay on my Central Park West apartment and my son's tuition bills to pay. And you gotta make a living, right? Privately at night, to save my sanity, I wrote for the Muse, poetry and fiction, which is why I love the next talk you're going to hear. You will see what I mean. Then I decided 25 years ago that my day job was going to be writing about global heroes. So when I was asked to talk about them here, I now have a database of almost 1,200 people to choose from. I've picked just 9, starting with one of the earliest people I found. This is A.T. Aryaratne, who may be the ultimate community organizer. For 50 years, he has worked with 11 million villagers to build roads, schools, health clinics, village banks, clean wells. His stats are amazing, but the man is even more so. Early on, there were forces that did not want this kind of change in Sri Lanka. So a contract was put out on his life. He went to the encampment of the assassins and introduced himself. Because he said, you know, if you come to a village where I'm working, a lot of people could get hurt. So I've come to you. And they wanted to know who this lunatic was and what was he up to. A few hours later, he left the camp with a newly recruited security force pledged to protect him and the villages. Now we're in El Salvador. This is Vicki Guzmn de Luna. 37 years ago, she came home with a brand new medical degree, and her family thought, great, she'll be a staff doctor at the city hospital, lots of prestige, lovely income. She headed into the mountains to provide primary care for the poor. Primary turned out to include a lot of things like latrines and clean wells, so she figured those out and helped on those too. Very little money involved. She sometimes got paid with chickens or potatoes. So she must be fomenting revolution, right? Why else would she be out there? So soldiers were detailed to track her and watch, and as soon as she did something subversive, to arrest her. They watched, and what they saw was La Doctora's total compassion. And they also saw some things they could help on. One of them started AA chapters in the villages, and another one started literacy classes. This is Boeing supervisor Robert Fox. He's a hero if you love breathing clean air in restaurants and offices and other public places and on airplanes, but maybe not if you're dying for a smoke right now. He worked 30 years in his spare time to get those public policies in place. This is Orville T. Magoon. I love saying that name. He was given charge of 23,000 acres of commercial farmland. And the short-term, sensible, quick ROI return would have been cash crop and run some cattle. But there was this old house on the land that Magoon said was only being held together by the termites holding hands, and some gnarled old vines for wine. He said he didn't know a thing about winemaking, But this turned out to be the estate of Lily Langtry, who in 1887 bought it. She was a world-famous singer, actress, and courtesan, the mistress of kings. Orville didn't know anything about wine. He said he was a Coors man himself, but he had a passion for history. So he invested a lot of management years and an impractical amount of money in saving the old Langtry estate and a delicious part of American history. Long-term business outcome, the wines of the restored Langtry estate are a smashing success. The man on the left is Azim Kamisa, born in Kenya, a naturalized American and investment banker. The man on the right is Ples Felix, an American who did 2 tours in the Special Forces in Vietnam and was for many years the manager of San Diego's Business Enterprise Zone. Kamisa is holding a picture of his son, Tariq, and Ples Felix is holding a picture of his grandson, Tony, the boy he was raising until, as part of a gang initiation, Tony shot and killed Tariq, a boy he had never seen before. Kamisa realized that 2 families had lost sons. Tony, at age 14, was sent to Folsom Prison. So Kamisa reached out to Felix, and Felix reached back. He came alone to a gathering of the grieving Kamisa family and gave his apology for what his boy had done. The 2 men formed an alliance and a foundation to stop kids from killing kids. They go together into schools and talk to the kids about nonviolence and forgiveness. Now we're in Zimbabwe. This is Betty Makoni. She is a school teacher who was orphaned and terribly abused as a young girl. So her passion is to be sure that no young girls suffer like that anymore. She started a Girl Child Network, which takes care of 30,000 Zimbabwean girls. An iconic American image, the pretty popular girl who is the cheerleader. This one had a passion that caused her to risk it all. She thought kids who didn't fit the image should be able to be cheerleaders too. So she's created and coaches a team at her high school that includes kids with physical and mental disabilities. And our newest giraffe is Eitan Grossman, who started Kid Earth, a network of children around the world pledged to protect the planet for the next 100 generations. Eitan is working in 6 nations already. You see him here in Botswana, and he's working on the rest of the globe now. He got his giraffe commendation for sticking his neck out at his bar mitzvah last week. And next week, I get to write his story. Finding stories like this to write gives me my why. I tell their stories because the world needs real heroes. So we can all see what passionate, caring, committed, brave lives look like. So we can stick our own necks out to do whatever we see to make the world a better place. Telling their stories is my passion. Thank you.